Hey everybody, how you doing? So this may be a controversial topic, but this is something that I've wanted to talk about for a long time now. The Titanic fandom really is not a place for toxicity. Titanic itself as a topic is really a very unifying and broadly beloved subject. You could go to a college university or you could go to a Waffle House and start talking about Titanic, and pretty much the entirety of the people there will talk about it, will talk about how much they love it and admire it. So it's not really a very controversial subject matter. However, and I'm just going to say it right now, yes, there are bodies in the Titanic wreck. And the main reason why I believe that is one, Robert Ballard, the discoverer of the Titanic, has said that it is his belief that there are still bodies there. Now, as far as I'm concerned, he is the definitive expert and authority on the wreck. Not only is he one of the greatest oceanographers, if not the greatest who has ever lived, but he found the freaking thing. So, yeah, I'm going to take what he says over a lot of other historians. Now, there is one controversy associated with the Titanic among its fans and its devotees, and that is whether to take objects from the wreck. There are those that feel that it would be wasteful not to, that these objects enhance the love and admiration and respect that people have, as well as visually showcasing the story for a new generation or a larger audience. And then there are those that believe that the wreck site is a grave site and it should be left alone. Now, the main core of the argument against the fact that it is not a grave site is the fact that the salvagers in particular, have said that they've never found any human remains, that it is not a grave site, that the remains of any humanity that was lost in the disaster has long since disappeared. And while I understand their reasoning behind it, the simple fact is every single time we have used absolutes to define the Titanic, we have been met with disaster. There's no way the ship can sink. What did it friggin' do? We don't need enough lifeboats for everybody aboard. That didn't work out very well. There's no way we could ever reach the Titanic. It's lost. What happened? There's no way the Titanic broke in two. It did. On and on and on. You could look at it. And the simple fact remains that every single time we act like we know definitively something about this subject, we're proven wrong. And while I know it might be a stretch because people have been saying this narrative for 30, 40 years that due to the coldness and the fact that so many of these different organisms and bacteria that are living on the ship could have consumed it, there's no possible way. I think the fact that we have not explored, in particular, the places that are sealed up from the watertight doors, the fact that we have not looked in any real measurable way the main part of the front of the ship towards the bow, that was some of the first areas that were flooded. We don't know exactly what those rooms look like. I think you could say that it's reasonable to believe, like Robert Ballard says, that there could be a few bodies that still remain there that have been sealed off. Now, a lot of the things that people say is the fact that due to the fact that it is located by a jet stream, that the Titanic has really become something of an open haunted house. There's a lot of sediment that gets rolled around. All of the windows, for the most part, are completely open on the main infrastructure. And so, yeah, that is not going to allow human remains to remain preserved and in place. That is going to get whipped up because it's coming from all different directions. However, that being said, 120 years or 110 years rather is not enough time if you are sealed off, if, say, you're in a compartment down in the boilers that has been sealed off. It's not enough time for a body to fully evaporate or dissolve, rather. And if you look at other wrecks, like the Empress of Ireland, that is in, I mean, it's obviously not at that depth, but still, bodies have remained, even though it is freezing water, even though it is being consumed by organisms. There are still skeletal remains. Robert Ballard has discovered a number of different wreck sites, some of which are, Viking or, almost Stone Age in its construction, that have been lost in time, that have been buried deeply for hundreds, if not, over 1,000 years. And even then, there were skeletal remains there. So I don't think it's a far cry to say that until we explore every nook and cranny, we cannot definitively say that there are no remains. There are absolutely no remains inside, or inside the main superstructure, the top levels. There are no remains. I can tell you that with absolute certainty, in the debris field. For a long time, that was basically the middle ground, was those that wanted to salvage say, well, we're not going to touch what's inside the ship. We're just going to touch what's on the debris field. And that was kind of the middle ground where everybody was more or less okay with it. Now, that being said, that middle ground no longer exists because they have appealed to a district court to remove the wireless, the Marconi wireless, from inside the ship, and they were approved to do so. So that has sparked a lot of controversy. And my thesis here is the fact that if we're really going to respect the Titanic, if you're a salvager and you profess that you're going to respect this subject, the lives lost, then I don't think you can justify your assumption that there are no more bodies there on that wreck. Because the simple fact is, you don't know. You can say with complete certainty that based on what you know, it's unlikely, fair enough. However, you don't know. You have not been to every single part of the bow. You have not. So, no, you do not know with absolute certainty, unless there are complete images and scanning of the entirety of the interior of the ship. You cannot say that there are no bodies aboard. Now, James Cameron, who has probably explored the interior of the ship better than and um, more accurate than anybody, has said that he's never seen any bodies. Fair enough. However, again, he was mainly focused on the large and grandiose rooms that have been exposed to the elements for a long time. Nobody has ever gone down and tried to peer into those rooms that were sealed off. In particular, the rooms that were sealed off and were exposed to a huge amount of flooding and was maze like, so it was impossible for everybody to get out. Nobody has been able to go inside the engine rooms definitively. So, no, you don't know. And it is my belief that yes, there are bodies there. That might be controversial, but that's my belief. And so, if that is the case, then no, You cannot go and remove objects from the wreck, from the actual wreck, from the interior of the wreck. That statute has to remain in place. Now, we have to ask ourselves, what is the underlying reason that is propelling these people to take from the wreck? It is not, when you get right down to it, a firm belief that there are no skeletal remains, that there are no human remains left. It's the simple fact that they just wanna. These are toys that they want. They yearn to preserve a Marconi wireless that was from the Titanic. And that's a pretty selfish belief, sort of similar to not wanting enough lifeboats on board so that you have more deck space. It's selfish. And every single time people have tried to act selfishly on the subject of the Titanic, it has ended in disaster. Have a great day.